What would you do if your parents charged you $5 for smiling and $10 for laughing since you were 4 years old? My parents had this mason jar on the kitchen counter labeled happiness tax in my mom's perfect handwriting. Every time I smiled, $5 came out of my weekly allowance. Every time I laughed, $10 disappeared. They called it preparing me for the real world. My dad would say, "Life doesn't reward happiness, Tyler. Successful people stay focused and serious." By the time I was 8, I owed them over $600. My allowance was $3 a week, so I was basically in debt until college. I stopped smiling completely. School photos from that time show this stone-faced kid who looked absolutely miserable in every single picture. My second grade teacher, Mrs. Wilson, pulled my parents aside during conferences. "Tyler seems very withdrawn. He never laughs with the other children. Is everything all right at home?" My mom smiled sweetly and explained that we were teaching me emotional discipline. "Some families are just more reserved," she said. "How do you explain to a teacher that your parents think joy is a character weakness? That showing happiness literally costs money?" My friends thought I was the weirdest kid in class. "Why don't you ever laugh at anything funny?" they'd ask during lunch. I learned to fake little coughs instead of laughing. I'd bite the inside of my cheek until it bled to stop myself from smiling. Christmas morning was absolute torture. I'd open presents with the most neutral face possible while my parents watched like security guards. "Remember, gratitude is expensive," my dad would warn as I unwrapped toys. At birthday parties, I'd sit in corners watching other kids have actual fun. If someone told a joke, I'd look away or excuse myself to the bathroom. If something was genuinely funny, I'd focus on counting ceiling tiles. By middle school, I had trained myself to be basically emotionless. Teachers described me as mature for my age and unusually focused. What they didn't know was that I was terrified of accidentally costing my family money. High school was lonely. Girls wouldn't date me because I seemed depressed all the time. I had maybe 2 friends who stuck around despite my robot personality. Everyone else thought I was stuck up or weird. The worst part was achievements and celebrations. When I got accepted to State University with a partial scholarship, I just nodded silently. When I won the Academic Excellence Award junior year, I stood on stage like a statue. My parents were actually proud of my discipline and emotional maturity. They'd brag to relatives about raising such a well-controlled young man. College was different. Nobody knew about the happiness tax, but after 16 years of conditioning myself not to show joy, I literally couldn't remember how to be happy. My roommate David kept asking if I needed counseling. I'd watch comedy movies with a completely straight face. I went to parties and stood there like furniture while everyone else laughed and had fun. Then I met Emma in my developmental psychology class. She was studying childhood behavior modification for her thesis. We became study partners, and eventually she asked about my complete lack of emotional expression. I told her everything. About the jar, the money deductions, the constant monitoring of my facial expressions. She got this absolutely horrified look. "Tyler, that's not discipline. That's systematic emotional abuse. They literally trained you to suppress basic human happiness." She convinced me to start seeing the campus therapist. Dr. Rodriguez explained how my parents had rewired my brain to associate joy with financial punishment. It would take years of work to undo that psychological damage. The breakthrough happened during finals week junior year. Emma and I were stressed about our abnormal psychology exam when she showed me this ridiculous video of cats being scared by cucumbers. Something about their dramatic overreactions just broke something loose inside me. I started laughing. Actually laughing out loud. For the first time in probably 15 years. Emma started crying because it was the first time she'd ever seen me genuinely happy about anything. That summer, I went home with a plan. I walked into our kitchen and saw that stupid mason jar still sitting on the counter, now dusty but still half full of coins and crumpled bills. I dumped it out on the table and started counting methodically. Over 16 years, they'd collected almost $3,000 from taxing my happiness. When my parents came home from work, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the money spread out in neat piles in front of me. "What are you doing with our discipline jar?" my mom asked, her voice getting that sharp edge. I looked up at both of them and smiled, the biggest, most genuine smile of my entire life. "I'm buying back every single laugh you stole from me, and I'm keeping all the change as interest." Then I threw my head back and laughed, long and loud and joyful. My dad automatically started reaching for his wallet, but I held up my hand. "The happiness tax is officially canceled forever. I'm 21 years old, and I'm done letting you charge me for being a normal human being." I took that $3,000 and spent it on everything that made me happy. Comedy show tickets, amusement park passes, silly movies, and ridiculous novelty t-shirts. My parents didn't speak to me for 8 months, but for the first time in my life, I honestly didn't care. I was too busy learning how to laugh again.